It's all just a soap opera. Quentin Tarantino has harsh words about this popular Western show. Quentin Tarantino is very vocal about his favorite, and least favorite, movies and TV shows, and he had particularly harsh words for the hit neo-Western series Yellowstone. Though the Pulp Fiction filmmaker is most famous for making movies, he is also passionate about television, and Tarantino famously directed 2 CSI episodes. He's also given candid opinions about popular shows, and they often come as a surprise. For example, Tarantino loves How I Met Your Mother, but found True Detective to be so boring that he didn't even finish the pilot episode. One show many have found anything but boring is Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone, centered around the titular Montana ranch run by the ruthless Dutton family. For 5 seasons, the Duttons schemed, backstabbed, and even killed to keep their ranch away from those who wished to take it from them, with Yellowstone's explosive finale airing in December 2024. The show was so popular that an entire Yellowstone universe was created, with 2 prequel series and at least 3 sequel spin-offs in the works. But one person who likely won't be watching any more Yellowstone shows is Quentin Tarantino. Right before the Yellowstone series finale was set to air, Quentin Tarantino appeared as a guest on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, and the topic of the beloved Western series came up. At first, Tarantino was complimentary of Yellowstone, particularly of Season 1 and Taylor Sheridan's writing. He said, via Variety. However, that's essentially where Tarantino's kind words ended. While he acquiesced that Yellowstone was entertaining as a whole, he even watched the 1883 prequel. He ultimately dismissed it as forgettable, dinging the show for its soap operatic qualities. Ultimately, he said he was. In true Tarantino fashion, he went on to cite a show that he did find had similar emotional cinematic qualities to a movie, and that was Homeland, specifically Season 1. Homeland starred Claire Danes as Carrie Matheson as a CIA officer hiding her bipolar disorder, and it ran for 7 seasons, from 2011 to 2020 on Showtime. Kevin Costner famously departed Yellowstone on a wave of controversy prior to the series finale, forcing the show to prematurely kill off his protagonist character, John Dutton, the family patriarch. However, while he may have issues with the Taylor Sheridan series behind the scenes, Costner has continually sung the praises of Yellowstone and its high quality. In a recent interview with E.T., Costner candidly shared his thoughts on the Yellowstone finale, while also taking the opportunity to address where he thinks the show excelled. He said, well, it's modern-day ranching. Yellowstone was able to capture that really so beautifully. I mean, it's a bit of a soap opera. I mean, we all should be in prison. It's interesting that Costner echoed Tarantino's sentiment of Yellowstone being a soap opera, but he really seems to be speaking to what drew audiences in and kept us there across 5 seasons. The John Dutton actor is absolutely right that the main characters should all be put behind bars for the many felonies they committed, but that's the fun part of the show. If Yellowstone were solely about the authenticity of modern-day ranching, it wouldn't have been nearly as popular. But it's thanks to the show's dramatic plotlines that viewers also get a slice of what real cowboy life is like, alongside the Duttons' many trips to the train station. As much as I admire the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood director and love all of Quentin Tarantino's movies, I think that his oft-expressed love of the Western genre gives him a bias against Yellowstone. From his comments, it seems like he judges TV shows based on their ability to be like movies. But the fact is that they're different mediums, so this criteria for what makes a good show isn't entirely fair. Yellowstone is a whole different beast than the classic westerns that Tarantino holds so dear, but that doesn't diminish its quality. As for what makes something memorable 5 years from now, that's all a matter of taste. Yellowstone premiered in 2018, and there are still scenes from its early seasons that live rent-free in my head, most of which are soap operatic in quality. From Beth coming to Monica's aid in the boutique scene to the entire Beck brothers storyline. Speaking of the Beck brothers, they are some of the best villains in any Taylor Sheridan show, but Tarantino also dismissed them as forgettable. In the interview, he said he remembered Danny Huston as the Season 1 villains because he's a fan of the actor, but I don't remember the bad guys for Season 2 or Season 3. It's out of my head. It's completely gone. Ultimately, it's fine that Quentin Tarantino doesn't feel the same way about Yellowstone as the fandom. I'm still excited for his 10th movie, though maybe not as much as for the Beth and Rip spinoff. Quentin Tarantino is never one to bite his tongue. The legendary filmmaker, known for genre-busting masterpieces like Pulp Fiction and Django Unchained, has never pretended to play nice with Hollywood's current wave of prestige television. But in a recent interview that's already making waves, Tarantino took aim at one of the most beloved shows in the Western genre. And his criticism was as sharp as a Bowie knife. "I don't get the obsession with Yellowstone," Tarantino said bluntly. "People talk about it like it's this profound piece of American storytelling. But to me, it's all just a soap opera with cowboy hats." The remark came during a conversation at the Beverly Cinema's retrospective series, where Tarantino was promoting his upcoming book on 1970s cinema. When asked if he watched any modern shows for inspiration or enjoyment, he shrugged before launching into what's quickly become his most controversial critique of television this year. "I gave it a shot," he admitted. The first season had a few sparks. Kevin Costner brooding over Montana's dying legacy, some decent cinematography, and sure, I'll say it, great hats. But 5 episodes in, I realized I was just watching Dallas with more dirt and gunfights. The audience laughed, unsure whether he was joking. But Tarantino doubled down. "These characters, they're not rugged individualists or frontier philosophers. They're melodramatic archetypes screaming at each other over land deals and family betrayal. If I wanted to watch that, I'd throw on a rerun of The Bold and the Beautiful." To fans of Yellowstone, the comment hit like a bucking bronco. Taylor Sheridan's flagship series, anchored by Costner's gravelly gravitas as John Dutton, has been lauded as a modern Shakespearean tale, set against the sweeping plains of Montana. The show's themes of legacy, power, and blood loyalty have drawn in millions, even spawning prequels like 1883 and 1923, which have earned their own critical acclaim. But Tarantino remains unimpressed. "Look, I know people love it, and that's fine," he said, raising his hands in mock surrender. "But just because it's got horses and a dusty color palette doesn't mean it's deep. Just because someone gets shot doesn't mean it's meaningful. And just because someone says, 'This land is all we have,' doesn't make it The Searchers." He paused, then added with a smirk, "It's just Dynasty, but with rattlesnakes and belt buckles." Online, reactions were swift and divided. Tarantino's devotees cheered his honesty, praising his ability to cut through the cultural hype. But Yellowstone fans and TV critics were less forgiving. Quentin's whole brand is stylized violence and pop culture homage. Yellowstone is doing the same thing, just in a different register, one critic tweeted. "Pot, meat kettle." Others pointed out that Tarantino has long dismissed modern television, including critical darlings like Breaking Bad and The Sopranos. In his eyes, narrative television lacks the structural elegance and boldness of cinema. "He needs an ending," one media analyst wrote. Tarantino thrives on arcs, finality, crescendos. He can't stand the meandering middle of TV, which is where Yellowstone lives.